Hi, good morning. My name is Anina, and I'm the founder and CEO of 360 Fashion. I came to you today in a 24-hour loop all the way from China, and there are not a lot of places left in the world where I haven't been, and I'm really proud to say, and I thank you so much for your invitation. I've never been to Sweden before, so here we are. And it's a beautiful place, heard lots of things about it. So just quickly, my company deals with mobile, social, e-commerce, and empowering the fashion industry. And many of you may or may not know a little bit about me, but I'll tell you today. And I hope to inspire you with some entrepreneurial spirit to talk to you about what it takes to be successful in China, and what I've recently learned through those experiences, and how I incorporate that information back into my own company. So I'm actually a fashion model, and in 2005 I created 360 Fashion, and I was riding the whole blog wave, and I brought the first mobile blogs to the fashion industry and really pioneered mobile reporting together with 6apart and Nokia Corporation. We've live streamed with Vodafone from the catwalks of London Fashion Week, where I've also always almost gotten thrown out of the pit because people say, "That's not a professional camera." And yes, and also geolocated retail stores on maps with France Telecom, and even today, opening up my own company, in China. And I went to China thinking, wow, nobody gets what the heck I'm doing over here in the West. I'm going to where everybody knows what a blog is, and all these people are playing games with their mobile phones. So I went to China, and I went first on a modeling contract, because I think it's the best way to know your own industry is to work within it. And then I opened my own company in 2008. And slowly had the goal that if I could become #1 in China, well, then everybody would play, all my games. So I actually did receive this award from the government, the first foreigner in the history ever to be nominated and win. And it gave me a great platform to launch my company on, and to really get into cooperation and the trust of the local teams, photograph agencies, government. So, it's definitely not easy. When you're an entrepreneur, I have to tell you, you will sacrifice everything. You will sleep on the floor of your office. You will eat noodles or nothing. So I can tell you that modeling most definitely prepared me to be an entrepreneur. At a very young age, I had to go out, get clients, deal with, large numbers of income. I had to do accounting. I had to, keep clients, talk with agents, and try to navigate my way to what we would call the gold, which would be the cover of a magazine. So, if you really want to succeed as an entrepreneur, you will absolutely give up everything. Just like Nick Yang here, who's one of the richest entrepreneurs in China. He slept on the office with 7 of his employees for a year and ate noodles. That's just what it takes. And, micromanaging, I read all these sites, people saying, delegate, delegate, delegate. There is no delegation when you're an entrepreneur, because generally you're like one of 2, or maybe 5, if you're lucky. Or if you're managing a team in China, doesn't matter if there's 60 of them. You have to absolutely micromanage every single thing that they do in order to create excellence. Another thing is that how many of you have seen this movie? One of my favorite, most inspiring movies out there. And there's this scene in the movie where, the kid is like down and the guy's on top of him, and he's like, jumps up and like pulls out this dynamic move, and the coach is like, can you show us that move? What was it? And he's like, it's not really a move. And he's like, well, what is it? And he says, well, when the guy's on top of me, and he's holding me down, I imagine that he's plunging my face into water, and I'm gonna die at any moment, and I have to do whatever the fuck it takes to get off of that guy, off of my back. So they invented this move called whatever the fuck it takes. And they, and they used that to win with all of their other games. They're like, whatever the fuck it takes. And it's true. If you're not willing to absolutely roll up your sleeves, get down on your hands and knees like I just had to 2 days ago, and cut by yourself all the little papers out while 20 other people are watching, and you're like, can I get some help here? Do you see what I'm doing here? No, nobody move, right? So you have to be willing to do it all by yourself if nobody else is going to help you. No sleep for the weary. I hate to tell you, like my best sleeps are on airplanes. So you can be sure that half of your life will be sleeping with one eye open. Also, know your target, know your goal. When I went to China, I was like, I will become #1 in China. I have no idea how I'll do that, but I will become #1 in China. I don't know how I'll do that. I will become #1 in China. Absolutely never leave your eye from the goal. If that is what you want, you may like steer to the left and kind of steer to the right, and you may not even know like, wow, I can't even see outside my window to where the target is, but I know it's in that direction. Absolutely keep clear on your target. Never leave your eye from where you want to go. And oftentimes, I don't know about you guys, but it feels like I'm like blind and in the dark. I'm like, I don't know how this stuff works. Nobody told me how to open a company. Like, what paper do I have to fill in? And many times I'm standing there in some office with a whole bunch of people that nobody speaks any English, and I'm like, I need to get this task done. Okay, so where do I sign? What do I have to do? You spend hours and hours just absolutely just not knowing how you're going to go. And it's an unsettling feeling if you're not really prepared to be an entrepreneur. Because, yeah, you're like, I'll just go. So get used to that feeling. And another thing is that I personally spend a lot of time contemplating the cosmos. It gives me some kind of serious sense of peace when I think that here we are on this planet that's spinning, that we're not flying off of, that's rotating in some, trajectory around the sun, that it takes 8 minutes for a ray of light to travel millions of space miles to, touch my skin, that somehow transfers to me some kind of ancient knowledge that it had to go through past meteorites to touch me, go through me, and continue its journey on, that somehow if all of this miraculous universe that we live in is possible, surely I must be able to reach my goal, because anything is possible. And you really have to think globally and locally at the same time. I'm really discouraged these days by my fellow Americans who still do not speak any other language than English. Unacceptable to me. That today we absolutely have to be thinking, not only is it how do I reach out into China, it's like, what's going to happen to my business when, 1.2 million Chinese actually decide to travel over to meet me, right? Like, those people will become empowered, and they will start coming over here. And you see a lot in the luxury industry. They're putting on, when, the Chinese show up, and they go, we want 100 Louis Vuitton bags, please, and we'll pay cash. They're like, whoa. They had to impose laws that one Chinese can buy one bag, Because absolutely it is going to put an incredible strain on your business. Are you prepared? Have you even got anybody or any sort of, things going on inside your company? How are you going to deal with foreign clients? Are your clients already converting their websites into Chinese? Are you integrating with social media? We need to think in a global way. And Latin America, oh my God, I haven't even started to think about that. India, I mean, God, it's incredible, but we really need to start thinking that it's not just a one-way direction. It is a round and circular way. And how are you going to communicate your message, you know, halfway around the world and keep your brand values? So, you know, a lot of it is about perspective. And I get a lot of eye-openers in China where I realize my Americanism, where I realize, you know, that actually the way I think may not be the right or the only way. That in fact, this map that I grew up with America in the center, or maybe you guys have Europe in the center, and you know, China looks kind of small over there, you know? But in actuality, they grew up with a map that looks like this. And I actually seen maps with like China looking a lot bigger and America looks really smaller and Europe just kind of a lot smaller. And this fundamental shift, if you think about it, that for 18 years of your life you stared at a map like that, it will make your thinking differently. I urge you all to go out and buy a Chinese map or an Asian map and stick it on your walls and stare at it for a week. It will absolutely give you and start shifting your mind perception. And the Great Wall is not just this thing you can see from space or something that millions of people died for, or, you know, that's just massive and incredible. It's actually symbolic to me about all of those walls that we meet in our own daily life where you're like, wow, how am I going to go over that? How I'm going to go through that? You know, when I was like in the process of getting one of our apps preloaded on a handset in China, suddenly in front of this big corporation, you know, structure, somebody said no. And I was like, who said no? I don't know. Somebody on the marketing team said no. Why did they say no? I don't know why they said no. I don't know. I don't even know who it was. And I just had to start calling everybody. Who said no? Get me in front of who said no. Put me in front of who said no. Let me talk to who said no. Who said no? Why did they say no? I want to know why they said no. And I insisted until we had a meeting at the table, and then I presented to them the whole reasoning why they should put my app on the phone. And there was like 2-minute conversation between two people at the end of the table. They whispered something and they turned around and said, okay. I was like, so, you know, over it, under it, around it, through it, whatever it takes, that's what you have to do. And my personal philosophy that when I, you know, silly little me, you know, being a fashion model, I was like, yeah, everybody else is playing house, you know? I want to be a CEO. I want to run a corporation. Right. No idea what that meant, but there you go. You know, but one thing that I did know is that you never, ever, ever give up. I don't know how to give up. I'm like I remember in history lesson, the Russians burned everything behind them, so they couldn't go back. It's kind of the same sort of thing, you know? If you have a dream and you have the ability to believe, you must never, ever, ever give up. You have to be willing to sacrifice everything. So, you know, where do you start? You know, China's a big place, you know, but one thing, and I messed up this slide, but Mao said, and I love this, Mao said that if you take Beijing, all of China will fall. So that's where I started. I was like, all right, I'll follow what Mao said, no problem, you know. And it's really a love-hate kind of relationship because the thinking, again, back to the map, is 180 degrees different than what you're thinking today. What we know is right, what we know is normal, what we know is acceptable, I don't know what is in their minds someday, you know? But sometimes I just cannot understand them. And you want to kill everybody. And that's when I come over here and I just like take a break and go eat some good food and, you know, breathe some fresh air. And then I go back into the battlefield. So it's a love-hate relationship merely because of the cultural misunderstandings that can really happen. The way we think it should be done versus how they do. And believe me, there's a lot of things that get lost in translation. For 6 meetings, I told everybody, we will cut the stickers out, we will put them on the wall, we will glue the photos over the stickers. We arrive on the demo day, and they're like, stickers? What stickers? I was like, ah! You know, so what can I tell you? There will just absolutely, no matter how many translators, whether you speak the language or not, there will just be things that get lost in translation, just like whoop, out of your email box. And if you want to start thinking about China, you don't have to fly over there today. This is a mobile global revolution that's going on. And soon I'm going to show you some of the numbers so that you guys can get excited here. But if you want to reach into China, you can just whip out your phone. And you better start thinking viral and mobile and social and get that stuff leaping into people's handsets and around the handsets. And I really love this CCTV, information. So we look here, we've got, the television. Pretty much everybody's got a TV, right? So how does that apply? Well, Android TV is going to be massive. Huawei already pre-sold like 1 million box TVs. You want to get into China? Make an app for the TV. It totally makes sense, And then you look here at the internet, and of course in the first and second tier cities, it's quite high, but as you go further out into the other cities, it totally goes down because they just didn't lay down the cables yet, And I love the mobile, the mobile as you go further away from the epicenters is just riding straight up. And there are people today who, as you've heard it before, that will never know the internet from a computer. Are you preparing for that? And it's a fragmented place. As much as you guys don't want to admit it, Nokia is still market leader in China. If you want to go for the China market, they are about to convert all of that 39% of Symbian users. They're about to launch this month their Windows Phone application. So, you better take it into consideration because they are not going to go down without a fight. And Android, complicated, widespread, rising fast, but definitely complicated because there are, really bad ways to download it to your phone because the actual Android Google market is blocked in China. So you have to rely on third world and second and third party mobile application sites, And then of course iPhone is great in the fashion industry, but not everybody has a credit card in China. So a lot of them are downloading your apps, but they're not registering on your Richter scale because they have to use an illegal software called Panda to download it because they can't get an account with Apple because they don't have a credit card. So there's a lot of things in the mobile that you have to really take into consideration when planning a very clear strategy on how to go for it. But what I love are these numbers, 2010 is 30 million smartphones. 2011, 150 million smartphones. 2015, 500 million smartphones. You cannot stop that train. And mobile internet is a really great solution if you can't, do the whole cross-platform thing. It's definitely a right step in the right direction. You better make sure it doesn't have a lot of photos and videos on it because most people still have a 2G connection. But it really does enhance your first steps into the whole mobile strategy. Another thing is that the main 6 drivers to mobile in China have been, of course, 3G, and there's 3 different kinds of 3G. So the real 3G is with China Unicom. The Chinese version of 3G is with China Mobile, and then China Telecom has some other weird 3G thing that, I can't even figure it out. But there's 3 different 3Gs. There's App Store craze that has taken off, open APIs of all the different platforms to the varying degrees, location-based services starting to take off, but the Chinese don't like to tell their locations. The mobile payment, a Unipay, Alipay, everybody's getting mobile payment. And then, of course, the #1 is microblogging. That's the Twitter, the Sina Weibo, the Tencent, the QQ. That, in my opinion, has really created this incredible uptake. So Sina Weibo is definitely, this is the year, you gotta watch it. It is just incredible. They're integrating into their Twitter, Sina Weibo accounts, e-commerce. They've got 3 different kinds of verification. They've got photo albums, and then I love this, they've got photo montage, which absolutely makes your tweets far more exciting. And so I just think that what they're doing is something that everyone should keep a very close eye on. You know, where to start in China? This really depends on your strategy. You can be the big king in the small pond, which is not such a small pond. The 2nd and 3rd tier cities are not too small. You know, or you have to take longer and get into the saturated Shanghai and Beijing areas. But it's really to understand that there's a lot of opportunity out there. And their cities, what they consider small cities, are absolutely filled with places that can, you know, be great starting up grounds. Dalian is a great startup area. Mobile advertising, I totally believe in it. We have an exclusive deal with CCTV Mobile, and if you just look at these numbers of a 7-day Burberry campaign with 1 banner ad on the CCTV Mobile, the numbers are just totally cuckoo here, you know, like 2 million interactions, you know, 9.11% click-through rate, and 200 some odd, you know, interactivities per client. That's just numbers that I've never been able to pull out of a hat over here. And how to solve problems that you can't solve. So the banks, for example, what they did was they were like, we got all these credit cards. Nobody want to put their credit into the e-commerce. So let's just create our own credit card and banking and e-commerce system. So, you know, that's what they did. And they have over 1 million users per mobile device. Yeah, as I said, be prepared if you want your Android app, you got to upload it to at least 70 different stores. And as I said, what I love about China is that Mao said men and women are equal. And over here in the West, I find myself often alone in these tech conferences. And over there, there's a lot of CEOs who are women, and I find myself in very good company. So how do we apply that to our own business? You can be sure we have a social media strategy that's just crazy and have to maintain all of those different platforms, so you better be prepared. Another thing is that we've worked together with a local partner to create a very powerful analytics tool. Our partners are one of 2 companies that have the license to directly access the Sina Weibo database, so we can find out all sorts of information that no one else can tell you. We also, when we build e-commerce systems, we advise our clients to integrate into Chinese social media. And we also, in all of our apps, integrate with the open APIs that are available of the Chinese social media, and we turn those apps out in a Chinese translation. Also, we learned from the Chinese that there's this great interactivity between offline and then online. So, for example, in their advertising campaigns, they often link to the e-commerce, their m-commerce. And we integrate, if you notice here, in our mobile app, we have both Twitter and Sina Weibo, because in Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Singapore, those platforms are not blocked. So you have to kind of adapt that. We also think about cross-platform, and so we created this, do-it-yourself mobile application platform that works in every single mobile phone. We think that it's not right that, young designers should have to pay 10 grand for a mobile app. You certainly can't afford it, but why not use one of these do-it-yourself platforms and put your lookbook into the mobile? And I have to tell you, you have to believe, and for so much time now I have believed that one day I would do an exhibition about fashion and mobile. And I'm extremely proud to tell you today that the Chinese government have asked us to create an 800 square meter exhibition about fashion and mobile. So, thank you very much. Augmented reality, applications, mobile, all our mobile apps, QR QR codes, and extravaganza. And right now it's supposed to play my favorite song, which is Kung Fu Panda, but it's not playing. I don't know where the button is. Somebody play that song because we got to hear it. But basically I just want to, I don't know what happened there, sorry. 1 second. What I want to say to you is that above all and everything else, that I wouldn't be here having first been some kind of a fashion model that, you know, converted into a tech entrepreneur, and that has come this far on nothing and no investment from outside investors, if I hadn't believed. And I wish you could see the next slide, which you can't, but it basically asks you that, do you know, today, this is truly not really worth much anymore, and the only thing that's currently keeping it in the air is the fact that we all still believe that it is worth something. And if you want to do the real currency today, it is voting with your social media dollars, you know? So if there's anything that I'm doing that you believe in, I ask you to join us on Facebook, vote for us on the Twitter, you know, download our mobile apps, because increasing all of that is the real currency of today. Thank you.
Thank you, Anina. I guess this one is made in China. It's some sort of speakers, Bluetooth. Thank you. What an energy. I mean, how much energy do you have? Are you exhausted or?
No, I could go on. I want the song. Where's the song? Come on, give me the song.
Any questions from Sara, Monica, Arne?
I have well, thank you first for all the energy. I'm not sure what drug it is, like someone tweeted, but all of them want it, so you better sell that. I think it's called energy. I just have a question to you. Being an entrepreneur myself, I'm inspired to actually go home and work. The risk capitalists out there, do we need them now? I mean, investing this amount of energy that you all have in yourself and in your company and all that structure, wouldn't that be killed if we got risk capitalists out there eating up your energy and money and trying to direct you in the wrong way? What do you think? Do you drive it without it?
And a short answer.
Oh, so in China, they say that you'll never have the CEO removed, because when the CEO is removed, all the guanxi will go with him. And so I wish that in the West it were like that, because if you kept the CEOs in their vision, in their companies, and instead of looking so nitpicky at this sort of bottom line, then you would have absolutely more successful startups, I believe.
Okay, thank you very much again, and I'm sorry we're out of time and need to have a coffee break. And please join us for the coffee and speak to people outside. Big applause again to Anina.